Imagine stepping onto a path, a journey where there are no decrees from above, no rigid doctrines, and no required beliefs. This path is called a religion, but it's unlike any religion you've ever encountered. It's the path of Buddhism. A journey where questions replace dogma and self-discovery is the ultimate goal. But if Buddhism doesn't require faith or belief in a deity, then what does it actually offer? Why do millions consider it a religion at all? Let's dive into the mystery, the simplicity, and the wisdom of Buddhism, the religion of no religion. In most religions, faith is fundamental. There's usually a sacred text, a list of commandments, and often an all-powerful, watching deity. But Buddhism stands apart. Buddhism doesn't center around a deity, nor does it ask followers to place their trust in an unseen power. Instead, it's about facing reality directly, with clarity, without needing the comfort of divine explanations. The focus is on finding answers within oneself, in the here and now, instead of seeking answers in the skies above. To understand Buddhism, we must first look at the life of the Buddha himself. Born as Prince Siddhartha Gautama in the ancient Sakya kingdom, he led a life of privilege, shielded from the harsh realities of human suffering. But one day, he ventured outside his palace walls and encountered suffering firsthand. The sight of an old man, a sick man, a corpse, and a wandering ascetic. The experience struck him deeply, and he began to question the nature of life itself. Leaving his palace and family behind, he embarked on a journey to seek answers, practicing intense asceticism and self-denial. Yet, after years of such practices, he realized that extreme deprivation didn't lead to enlightenment. It only led to more suffering. Finally, he discovered what he called the middle path, a balance between indulgence and denial. It was under a Bodhi tree, in deep meditation, that Siddhartha achieved enlightenment, becoming the Buddha, the awakened one. His journey wasn't about finding God. It was about finding wisdom within himself and understanding the true nature of existence. The Buddha taught that humans often create the concept of God to feel safe, to bring a sense of order and purpose to the chaos of existence. This comforting idea of a supreme, all-knowing deity reassures us. But according to the Buddha, these are stories we tell ourselves to cope with the unknown. He never claimed a God exists, nor did he deny it. Instead, he encouraged his followers to look beyond these constructs and seek clarity within. Imagine being told there's no pilot on an airplane mid-flight. For most people, the absence of a pilot, a guiding force, creates panic. Similarly, many of us see a deity as a cosmic pilot, giving life direction. But the Buddha's message was to question this dependence and discover a way to navigate life without relying on the notion of a cosmic pilot. His teachings guide us towards understanding our own minds and being responsible for our own lives. One of Buddhism's core teachings is about seeing reality as it is. The Buddha didn't encourage people to cover their suffering with hopeful beliefs or future promises. He believed that only by facing reality head-on, by letting go of comforting illusions, can we find peace. This process might hurt the ego. It might challenge our beliefs. But the Buddha taught that clinging to illusions of an eternal self or a permanent soul only deepens our suffering. The Buddha once said that if facing the truth shatters your beliefs, let it. Buddhism encourages a radical honesty with oneself. True transformation, he said, begins only when we stop hiding from the truth and are willing to dismantle our illusions. Piece by piece, the Buddha's journey led him to discover the middle path. Unlike other spiritual leaders who promoted self-denial or, in contrast, a life of indulgence, the Buddha taught that true wisdom lies in balance. Excess, whether in luxury or in self-imposed suffering, only leads to more dissatisfaction. Instead, he advocated a life of moderation, approaching life with a calm, balanced mind and an open heart. This middle path became a cornerstone of his teachings, neither extreme wealth nor extreme austerity, but a balanced approach to the world. Think of the middle path as a river flowing steadily between two banks. A balanced, Mindful life allows for freedom from extremes and brings us closer to a state of inner harmony. The Buddha taught that at the root of all suffering is desire. Desire is insatiable, it will always lead to more desire, creating an endless cycle of longing and dissatisfaction. Imagine having a tree that grants every wish. First, you might think this would bring happiness. But even with this magical tree, every wish granted only leads to more. It's a cycle with no end. This endless wanting, this cycle of desire, is what the Buddha called dukkha, or suffering. In Buddhism, the way to inner peace isn't about satisfying every want but about understanding desire itself and eventually letting go of it. The Buddha didn't say that having desires is inherently wrong. He taught that our attachment to them creates suffering. Recognizing this, one learns to experience life without clinging, achieving a profound inner freedom. One of the most challenging ideas in Buddhism is its approach to the self. The Buddha taught that the self is not a permanent, unchanging entity but a series of shifting thoughts, emotions, and experiences. This challenges the comforting idea that we each have an individual, eternal soul. Instead, we are like waves in the ocean, unique in form, but not separate from the water. Our individual identities are temporary, and this interconnectedness with all things is what Buddhism calls anatta, or no self. Rather than focusing on an afterlife, Buddhism encourages us to live mindfully in this very life. Concepts like heaven and hell aren't seen as physical places but as states of mind, influenced by our thoughts and actions. Inner peace isn't achieved by accumulating wealth or seeking a promised paradise, but by finding balance and harmony within oneself and with others. Where does Buddhism lead us? Meditation and mindfulness lie at the heart of Buddhist practice, not as mere rituals, but as practical tools to understand the mind and transcend it. Through meditation, one learns to observe thoughts without attachment, letting go of fears and desires to arrive at a state of inner stillness. This, the Buddha taught, is where true contentment resides. The goal of meditation in Buddhism isn't to gain something. Instead, it's about letting go. When we stop constantly pursuing the next thing, our minds naturally settle into a state of peace. This end of suffering, as described by the Buddha, is available to anyone who's willing to take the time to understand their own mind. The Buddha often told his followers, "Don't believe something just because it's tradition or because I say it. Test it for yourself." He wanted his teachings to be tools for exploration, not rigid beliefs. Instead of asking people to blindly follow, he encouraged them to trust in their own experiences, to see what resonated with their own understanding. Buddhism invites each person to become their own teacher. Instead of relying solely on faith, Buddhism offers practical wisdom, insights that can bring about profound transformations in our lives. Even small realizations, when integrated, have the potential to create deep, lasting change. Buddhism is less about answers and more about questions. It doesn't require belief in doctrines or gods. Instead, it offers a way to understand life as it is, free from illusion. The Buddha's teachings aren't commandments, but invitations to experience life with clarity, compassion, and an open heart. In the end, the Buddha didn't seek followers who would simply believe. He sought explorers who dared to question. The journey to understanding Buddhism isn't about finding the right beliefs, but about taking a step into self-awareness, into the reality of life, and discovering the profound peace that lies within each of us. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If you found meaning in these insights, please consider subscribing, sharing, and beginning your own journey toward understanding the mind and finding peace within.